The Boeing 787-8 Dreamliner was once the future of air travel, efficient, elegant, and revolutionary. But today, it's quietly disappearing from airline fleets and Boeing's own production plans. Once hailed as a marvel of composite engineering, the smallest Dreamliner has become a financial and logistical burden. Airlines are skipping it for the longer 787-9, while Airbus is luring new customers with the A350-900's superior economics. What went wrong with Boeing's perfect plane? In this video, we'll uncover the hidden reasons why the 787-8 is slowly dying, and what it tells us about the future of Boeing itself. When Boeing unveiled the 787 Dreamliner in 2007, the world saw it as the dawn of a new era. The 787-8 was designed to replace aging mid-sized jets like the 767, promising to revolutionize long-haul travel with 20% lower fuel burn and unmatched passenger comfort. Made mostly of carbon fiber composites, it could fly farther, faster, and cheaper than any rival in its class. For many airlines, it was love at first sight. The first customers, ANA, Japan Airlines, and Qatar Airways, saw the 787-8 as a symbol of innovation. Boeing promised flexibility, a plane small enough for new point-to-point routes, but powerful enough for trans-Pacific flights. At the time, Airbus didn't have a true competitor. The A330 was getting old, and the A350 was still on the drawing board. For a moment, Boeing seemed unstoppable. But then came the delays, years of them. Battery fires, supply chain chaos, and design changes turned what was supposed to be Boeing's smoothest program into a nightmare. By the time the 787 finally entered service, its costs had ballooned to over $30 billion in overruns. The Dreamliner was flying, but not yet profitable. Still, the 787-8 fulfilled its role. It opened routes between cities that had never been directly connected, Tokyo to Boston, for example, and proved that smaller, efficient widebodies could reshape the global airline map. Yet, as newer versions arrived, the weaknesses of the -8 became harder to ignore. Its systems were unique to that early batch: electrical architecture, software, even parts, all slightly different from the 787-9 and 787-10 that came after. For airlines, that meant higher maintenance costs and more complexity in training and logistics. Boeing, trying to simplify production, realized it couldn't afford to keep building such a special airplane. Today, while over 478 787s still fly, airlines are no longer ordering new ones. The 787-9 dominates production lines, offering more seats, longer range, and nearly identical fuel efficiency. The -8's advantage has vanished. Boeing quietly cut production rates, focusing its resources on the 787-9 and 787-10. And insiders say that the -8's days are numbered. But the question remains, how did a plane that once changed the world end up on life support? And what does this tell us about Boeing's current strategy and its future? Before we dive into the deeper issues behind Boeing's shift, make sure you subscribe to the channel. That way, you won't miss our upcoming stories on the next generation of aircraft, from the C929 to the A350-1000, and what they reveal about where aviation is really headed.
The turning point came when airlines began running the numbers. On paper, the 787-8 was efficient, but in reality, the 787-9 delivered almost everything it did, and more. United Airlines, for example, initially bought both versions. Yet today, its future orders are focused entirely on the 787-9 and 787-10. The reason is simple: economics. The 787-9 can carry about 40 more passengers, fly roughly 800 kilometers farther, and does so with almost identical fuel consumption per flight hour. That means a significantly lower cost per seat, the key metric that drives profitability. Other carriers reached the same conclusion. Air Canada, Qatar Airways, and ANA all shifted toward the -9 as their workhorse. Even Boeing's longtime partners saw no reason to keep the smaller variant in the fleet. The 787-8 became what airlines call a fleet orphan, too unique to retire immediately, yet too costly to keep ordering. Boeing itself indirectly acknowledged this. By aligning production around the -9 and -10, it reduced manufacturing complexity. Each variant shares more standardized parts, making assembly faster and cheaper. The 787-8, meanwhile, requires separate tooling and additional certification work for each change, a nightmare for efficiency. And then there's the competition. The Airbus A350-900, while larger, offers a similar mission profile, but with even greater range, modern avionics, and Airbus's well-known cockpit commonality. Carriers like Singapore Airlines, Iberia, and Lufthansa chose the A350 not because Boeing's 787 was bad, but because the overall package, efficiency, flexibility, and common pilot-type rating made more sense for their long-haul networks. In the end, the 787-8 was squeezed from both sides. The 787-9 outperformed it in Boeing's own lineup, and the A350-900 outshined it among global flag carriers. The result? Virtually no new 787-8 orders in years. It's not that the plane itself failed, it's that Boeing moved on. Still, the real story goes deeper. The decline of the 787-8 isn't just about economics. It's about Boeing's new strategy, shifting away from innovation towards standardization and cost control. And that shift, as we'll see next, might be the most dangerous one yet for the future of American aviation. To understand why the 787-8 is quietly fading, you have to look inside Boeing itself. The company that once defined aviation innovation has been reshaped by decades of corporate change, where engineering brilliance gave way to financial optimization. In the 1990s and early 2000s, Boeing engineers led the industry. The 777 program was their crown jewel, built by people who lived and breathed aviation. But after the 1997 merger with McDonnell Douglas, Boeing's corporate culture began to shift. Financial performance and shareholder value took center stage. The legendary engineer's first philosophy was replaced by spreadsheets, outsourcing, and quarterly targets. The 787 program became the first real test of this new Boeing. To reduce upfront costs, management outsourced vast sections of the aircraft: wings to Japan, fuselage sections to Italy, tail assembly to South Carolina. In theory, this global supply chain would make the program faster and cheaper. In practice, it did the opposite. Quality issues, late parts, and integration problems created a logistical nightmare. The 787-8, as the first variant, carried the full weight of that experiment. It was the prototype, the learning curve, the testing ground, the problem child. Every fix and upgrade that later made the 787-9 so successful was paid for by the early production chaos of the -8. But Boeing didn't see it that way. Instead of reinvesting those lessons into future innovation, leadership doubled down on cutting costs. The board shifted focus to stock buybacks, executive bonuses, and squeezing suppliers for margin. Even safety oversight weakened, culminating in the tragedies that followed with the 737 MAX, another aircraft compromised by the same corporate mindset. So when the time came to decide whether to evolve the 787-8 or quietly phase it out, the answer was obvious to Boeing's accountants. A unique variant that required extra certification, special parts, and separate software support simply didn't fit the new efficiency playbook. The engineers who once pushed for incremental upgrades and experimental variants, even a proposed 787-3 regional version, were sidelined. Boeing's focus had shifted to financial survival, not technological leadership. In many ways, the death of the 787-8 isn't just a business decision. It's a symbol of what Boeing has become. But there's another piece to this story. While Boeing retreated from innovation, Airbus kept pushing forward, and that gap is now becoming impossible to ignore.
While Boeing was busy restructuring, Airbus quietly did what it has always done best: improve, simplify, and listen to the airlines. The A350 program, launched in direct response to the Dreamliner, started with a clear lesson from Boeing's mistakes: consistency. From day one, Airbus designed the A350-900 and A350-1000 to share the same cockpit, the same systems, and nearly 95% commonality in parts. For airlines, that meant flexibility and lower training costs. For Airbus, it meant efficiency in production, the very thing Boeing was losing. The A350 entered service in 2015, years after the 787-8, but its timing couldn't have been better. Airlines had already seen Boeing's struggles. The 787 battery fires, the production chaos, and the MAX disasters that shook confidence in the brand. Airbus arrived offering a fresh alternative, stability, and airlines responded. Qatar Airways, Singapore Airlines, and Lufthansa became early adopters. They praised not just the range and comfort, but the reliability. While Boeing was patching old systems and managing quality issues from multiple suppliers, Airbus built a simpler, centralized process. Each A350 rolled out of Toulouse like clockwork. In terms of performance, the A350-900 directly challenged the 787-9. It could carry around 3 and 15 passengers, 50 more than the 787-8, and fly nearly 15,000 kilometers non-stop. Its larger fuselage meant better cargo capacity, which airlines increasingly value as an extra revenue stream. The result? Many carriers that once considered the 787-8 for long-haul expansion instead turned to Airbus. Even U.S. airlines, traditionally loyal to Boeing, began diversifying. Delta, for instance, ordered A350s to replace its aging 777s, a move that would have been unthinkable 2 decades ago. Meanwhile, Airbus built momentum. By the early 2020s, it had captured over 65% of new widebody orders globally. And as Boeing struggled to rebuild its image after years of delays and quality concerns, Airbus extended its lead with the A321XLR and plans for next-generation single-aisle aircraft, effectively surrounding Boeing on every front. In that sense, the decline of the 787-8 wasn't just the end of a model. It marked a shift in balance, a moment when Airbus became the symbol of confidence and Boeing the symbol of risk. And yet, despite everything, Boeing still has one final card to play, if it can find the courage to use it.
The 787-8 may be fading, but its legacy will never die. It proved that lighter, more efficient long-haul travel was possible, connecting cities that once seemed too far apart. In many ways, it reshaped the global map of aviation. Yet today, Boeing stands at a crossroads. The company faces growing pressure from Airbus, and its once revolutionary designs are aging fast. The 787-9 and -10 remain strong sellers, but they are evolutions, not revolutions. The world is waiting for Boeing's next bold step, the kind of vision that once made the Dreamliner a symbol of progress. If Boeing can rediscover that spirit, the engineering excellence and courage to innovate, the story of the 787-8 won't end as a failure. It will stand as a reminder of how ambition can change an industry, even if it comes at a cost. Because in aviation, every setback carries a lesson, and every legacy leaves a blueprint for something greater. If you enjoyed this breakdown of the Dreamliner's rise and fall, leave a like, share this video, and comment your thoughts below. Do you think Boeing can make a true comeback? And of course, subscribe for more deep dives into the aircraft shaping our skies.